Cue the dramatic music.
I've learned to lose, you can't.
2 minutes in and I'm hooked already. Let's get into the limo entrances. How would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10? Because I wasn't that impressed. I really wanted more people to go all in. Lots of missed opportunities. But also, how do you rate Joey? Let's dive in. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. I've got my popcorn here, my fancy outfit, because if it were me on night one, I just know that I would wear pink. I love Barbie pink, but I would wear something kind of glittery and flashy, so I hope it's not too distracting. But I loved night one. Now, usually night one, I don't have very high expectations because we're meeting 32 women. They said it was the most women ever, but that's not entirely true. We've oftentimes had 30, 32, but this is the first time that no one has dropped out. Did you know that? Fascinating. We had 32 women that all showed up. I was impressed. But what do you think about Joey? I thought Joey looked great. He came in his teal green suit, matched his eyes, and I thought he was very poised. As I said in my last video, very confident. He seemed really comfortable in front of the camera. So let's talk about the women and pay attention to the woman who comes out first and the last person, because limo entrance order is always significant. Now, behind the scenes, what happens is the women are just coming out in limos, but the way that they order it when they're playing it is slightly different. But I want to go over my top 5 limo entrances. I don't want to go over all of them because you've already seen it. And I want to give you a little bit more about who I thought was most nervous and what could have been done better. So the assignment for night one is to stand out and pay attention to your audience. But I'm also paying close attention to Joey's face. Who does he like? Who do I think he's making a connection with? And what to do and what not to do based upon Joey, because he's your audience, right? So let's talk about what not to do. Now, I also want to appreciate that all the women are super anxious. Many of them have not been on TV. They might have gotten some coaching about what not to do or what to do and gotten really nervous about what they're wearing. But a lot of people don't get coached on kind of how to make a good first impression. And I think everybody at some point tries to like beat the other person and be kind of funny. And I said last week that I really like the campy, kind of cheesy outfits. I did a post on this where I like people dressing up as sharks or dolphins or a fake baby bump or a unicorn head. If you're going to go, remember, you are in a sea of 32 people. How are you going to stand out? But sometimes it can also go wrong. Let me start with one of those, which was Zoe. Zoe was the woman that showed up with the platter of bananas and then asked Joey which one was he. Call it raunchy. I just thought, looking at Joey, he's not having it. He's like, really? I'm supposed to choose which banana is most like me? Now, Joey could have gone all in and said, you know, none of these are big enough. But then I think he would have felt like, oh, ho, ho, he needs to live up to that. So I kind of thought that he just, you know, downplayed that, but he just was not having it. It was not a good look, Zoe. Kayla with the tennis grunts, to me, that was like low effort, not very funny. Kira with the scream, she's the one who comes to Joey and she just screams, not like Sandra scream, but the look on Joey's face just told it all. Then we had the sisters, which we'll get to, Lauren and Allison, and Lauren came with the beer that she guzzled. Now, maybe that's Lauren's skill and maybe that's a bar trick, but again, do you know Joey? Because Joey has said that he actually, even on charity season, he chose to drink water quite a lot. He doesn't really like being drunk. It's not Joey's thing. So that was a miss for me. Then Taylor with the ginormous bra that she talks about support. Another miss. No, what? I don't understand how even these are relevant to Joey. It's like, where did you get a big prop like that, a big bra? Just bring it in. That was a mess. Okay, Lanny with the cheese whiz. That could have been funny, but again, there wasn't enough there. It just kind of fell flat. And then the person I actually felt the worst for, I felt like she might have gotten set up, which was Taylor. And she had the save the date card with Joey and Taylor's wedding. And I thought, did the producers set her up to this? Because we saw that once before where I think it was in Clayton season where somebody licked him. And it was like, oh my God, that was bad advice. Not good. Do not do this. Okay. So talking about what not to do, let's talk about what to do. Because I'm going to give the limo ratings like a 5.5. I really would have loved more of them to go all in. But I think what's really interesting, something that happened in psychology, there's something called the Kitty Genovese case. What does that mean? It's called the bystander effect. Well, Kitty Genovese was a woman in New York who had had a horrific crime being done to her, and she's yelling out for help. And everyone thought that somebody else was calling the cops, that nobody called the cops. It's kind of like one of these things. I think everybody thinks that somebody's going to show up in some tennis campy thing, so nobody shows up. And that to me was such a miss. I talked about that, like, let's go all in with tennis. Dress up like a tennis ball. Be that huge tennis racket. Go into something that you know about Joey, because here's the thing. Before, they used to come on the show not knowing who the Bachelor was. We know that Joey's the Bachelor. So go more all in. The ones I liked weren't necessarily tennis related, but I felt like Joey himself said, I want to learn something more about you through your limo entrance. And again, you need to stand out. Okay, Erica. Erica brought the boombox. She is Caribbean, is really into music and dancing. She came out in that beautiful green dress, and you could see that Joey's eyes lit up, and he was dancing with her, and she's like, I could teach you some things, and he's like, I could teach you tennis. Perfect. That was a great limo entrance from Erica. Caitlin with the chemistry, because she's a chemist. Again, another nice connection. Help me remember you. And she brought out the vial and mixed them. I thought the goggles, putting that on, was adorable. But did you notice Caitlin's dress? It was beautiful because it was also different. It was red, but it had like an underlay of sequins. I just thought it was very elegant, very classy. Nice job, Caitlin. Jen with the go-kart, one of my favorites. So fun. Her dress was great, but Jen's energy, she brought it, doing donuts, and then later we see where they're both in the go-karts together. Well done, because life is an adventure. Get in. You're not going to forget Jen, because I think she's a pretty unforgettable person. And then perhaps my favorite limo entrance of the night, Daisy. That Christmas tree farm and that little red truck were just everything. I thought her energy was great. It was really sweet. Who doesn't like a little red truck? And there's a whole story. We'll get to that. But Kelsey also stood out, and the color of the night was green. Lots of pretty green dresses. I think that's the color of the season. But her voodoo doll, that was cute. I really liked that. And because she's from New Orleans, that's going to be more memorable to him. A way you want to help somebody with like a mnemonic, remember your name. And so he's not going to forget Kelsey. Finally, with some tennis reference, was Medina. She came with the tennis balls. She's a therapist. She said that it took a lot of balls to get here. And nothing like the smell of those tennis balls in the limo. I can only imagine. But she had a beautiful dress, by the way. I loved it. It was very, very sexy, but beautiful. And she's a gorgeous woman. I think she pulled it off. Loved her limo entrance. And then there was Jess. And I wanted to say, I'm not sure if she was one of my favorites. The whole relationship, it just felt kind of a weak thing and a big boat, right? That was a lot of effort. I did like that she wore a pantsuit. That seemed a little bit fresh, a little bit different. And we're going to get to Jess, but I couldn't decide if that was one of like the worst limo entrances or one of the best. At least it was noticeable, so I'll give her honorary mention for that. Okay, so my favorites, again, were probably Jen with her energy and Daisy, both memorable. They understood the assignment. But then we saw a lot of low effort, kind of nothing new here. Like, and it doesn't take much. Again, you saw with Erica, she brought a boombox. You could bring a little bottle of syrup, as Gabby did, to say she was from the Northeast. So a lot of these just felt like misses, like even Chandler saying Chandler and Joey. That's not a lot. Autumn, I really liked Autumn. I thought she was very beautiful, and she had the autumn leaves. But like when you have a quiz and they don't get the quiz right, to me that was like a boom, boom, that crashed a little bit. I give her props for effort, but not great delivery. What did you think of Evelyn, who was on the referee chair? I felt like it was just a little too tall, a little too high. And because people didn't know if she was like a beach lifeguard or a referee, maybe if the guys had come out in tennis or she was like screaming, like a play or something. I just wanted her to go a little bit more all in, but I did appreciate the effort. Okay. What are we learning about Joey? That's why you're here. You want to dissect and understand from a psychological perspective. So here's something I noticed. I don't know if you noticed, but he did it not once, but twice. And so now I pay attention. He said, "How are we doing?" instead of "How are you doing?" It's a small thing, but if you're in a crowd of people, "How are we doing?" is appropriate. But "How are we doing?" if it's one person, it felt a little bit disconnected. And Joey goes on to tell us later that, of course, this would make anybody, right, like a nervous wreck. But I just felt like, again, a little bit of disconnection from him. And the second thing I noticed, also not once, but at least twice, that Joey's not great with surprises. If you noticed, it was Rachel and then it was Kelsey, who both came out with something behind their back. And he immediately, like almost like interrupted them and said, "What do you have behind your back?" And I thought, is Joey not good with handling surprises? Like, interesting. I'm just going to put a pin on it. I don't know what that actually means, but I might come back to this later. Okay, so let me talk about what I thought Joey did really well. He's humble. He came into, now after the limo entrances, right? He comes into the mansion and he gives a speech. He has a glass of champagne. He says, "I'm a regular guy. Code word, don't think that I'm Superman. Don't expect too much from me." But this is why I think he's media trained. I actually think that was pretty brilliant. He also wanted to instill hope, which is super important, night one. I know that my love is here. My fiance is here. My grandparents are a model of love. I'm ready to find my person. We know from charity season he got down on one knee, my next doubles partner. And he's really saying, as he did, "I've been where you are and I appreciate you being here." Chef's kiss. Done well, Joey. I thought it was so nice to say to these women, "I get you, I understand you." So I thought that was great. And then he doesn't need to be so perfect too. I think it was when he was with Autumn and they were chatting. Now we break down into little one-on-ones. He said, "I didn't talk about fun and I wanted to add that too because it's so important to make sure you have fun." Okay. So we're going to get to it when he talks to Maria. But what do you make of the fact that Joey is a Gemini with a Taurus cusp? Because I think from season 1 with Charity, there's something here. Okay, I don't know enough about astrology, you tell me, but I read up enough on this, and oftentimes Gemini, he even said, get like a bad rap for being like duplicitous, being two people. When they're doing well, Geminis are outspoken, persuasive, problem solvers. They can handle conflict. But under stress, it sounds like they're, and we're going to get to under stress, they might not be as steadfast. Now, the Taurus is steadfast, so that's the cusp, really helps to kind of mellow him out. But sometimes it sounds like Geminis can be a little bit two-faced, a little bit flaky. And that's what I think his uncle was talking about in Charity Season, where you're not getting the real Joey. And some people refer to Geminis, excuse me, as like being two different people rolled into one. So I thought that was just really interesting. And yet I feel like he's done enough work on himself that he at least has awareness. Okay, so now after the limo entrances, because that's kind of a level playing field. Everyone gets however many minutes versus how many minutes we show coming out of the limo. But now this is where, I hate to say, but a little bit of producer manipulation steps in. Why? Because not everybody gets one-on-one time with Joey. How is that determined? Well, supposedly the producers line people up or have some kind of prearranged order and then tell you when you have time with Joey. We're going to get to that because some people steal. Can I steal you away? But otherwise, from what I understand, is not everybody gets time with the lead. Now, you'll see, and that's why some people are crying eventually. But 10 people are going to be going home. And I really feel like, why? Why don't we have just 20 people and all 20 people get 10 minutes with him? It seems silly to me to have 32 people and 10 of them don't even get time with them. And this is going on from like 8 o'clock at night to like 4 or 5 in the morning. Can you imagine how many hours and you don't even get a chance to talk with him? I don't know how political it is, who gets to talk with him, who doesn't, but I just think it sounds really kind of unfair. And again, why have these women take off work, get all dolled up, get dressed up? It's got to be embarrassing. It really does. So I just feel for the women. I don't have answers for that. But let's get into the cocktail portion then. So the first person who we have to talk about is Jess. She is the first person to get a kiss, a smoochy poo from Joey. Like, what did you even think of smoochy poo? A kissy poo? Kissy poo, smoochy poo. Who talks like that? And the biggest mistake, okay, the kiss was not a mistake. The mistake is when Jess comes back and kisses and tells, right? I got the first kiss and it was great. And she wants to kind of like pump Joey up, but she's obviously putting a target on her back. So the whole while I'm thinking, like, where are my golden bachelorettes? Where are my golden bachelor ladies? Someone needs to come in and say, Jess, sweetheart, don't do that. Don't kiss and tell. Like, I'm imagining Kathy comes in and she's like, zip it, Jess, zip it. The second mistake that Jess makes is that she steals. So she gets the first kiss, she tells everybody she got the first kiss, and then she interrupts Taylor to come back. And it's lame. She says, I don't want to be that girl, but you did it. Just own that. And then even later she said, I'd do it all again. Ugh, not good. You are not going to be making friends at the mansion. And even back in the day, we said, I'm not here to make friends. That's passe. We don't listen to that anymore. But telling him, like, everybody's here for you, but I'm here for you more. I don't think Joey, like, the look on Joey's face, I got the feeling he kept her because he should, but I don't think she's going to be there for long because of that. I just didn't think that's the audience that who Joey is. Maybe it might have worked with Clayton like Shanae, but it's not working with Joey. So I thought that was a bad move. But here's what I want to do. I want to back it up because I don't think anybody's ever talked about this. So now we have Taylor. I'm Taylor. I'm in the green. I'm talking to Joey and she's trying to connect with him around blended families. And now suddenly there is Jess waiting, and then she interrupts and says, can I steal him? How else could Taylor have handled that? Because what bugs me, honestly, it's like the show, it's like Jerry Springer, where the women are like fighting over the man, and the man just kind of sits there and like sulks. Well, time out. Here's what I think I might have done if I was Taylor. I might have turned to Joey and said, Joey, I know we're just getting to know each other, but could you do me a big favor? And he'll say, what? You see Jess over here, she's coming and she's interrupting and she's going to ask me if she can steal you. and I just need 5 more minutes with you. Would you be so kind as to tell her that on my way out, I'll make sure that she's the next person in line? Thank you. Can you see how that might have been better? Makes Joey feel like he can be the hero. He gets the sense of what to do, and she doesn't have to be the person calling another woman out. Because that's what I hate about the show. It's like all that competition. And then after all of that, Taylor goes back and she says, hey, Jess, we need to talk. And then it just became, you were eavesdropping. No, I wasn't. And who likes that? It's just a tit for tat kind of thing. And if Joey could have handled it and just put out the message, I don't like this and I don't like stealing, and just wait your turn, I think it would have been better. Let me know what you think. I've never seen it, but I'd love to see it. Okay, who stood out for me? Daisy. Daisy not only drove up in the little red truck, she has all of Christmas set up. How sweet. At this point, it's September. Probably getting a little cooler at night because it looked a little cold, but she's talking about how her grandpa dressed up as Santa. It's like, protect this girl at all costs. How she talks to Joey, she's so sweet, and he's being humble and saying like this is a big role for him, and she's saying, well, it's such a big compliment that all these people are here for you. And he gets to be a good guy, and he says, I'm here for the purest of intentions. And I just think that even Daisy said, you know, whatever happens for you, I'm cheering you on. Wow. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm falling in love with Daisy right here. So sweet. We haven't seen a girl this sweet in a long time, and I think Daisy is going to go far. That was great limo entrance and great connection. Well done. Okay. Now there's a little more house drama that Jess comes back. Medina, the therapist slash balls all in, took a lot of balls to get here, says that, you know, just can't read the room. She's got that look on her face. I captured that. I'm like, yeah, I like her. She seems kind of sassy. But what I really loved was that huge tennis racket that she's playing with Jesse. I thought that was just precious. Who else did I love? I loved Maria. Maria, for me, was a breath of fresh air. First off, I loved her dress. Different. We don't see dresses like this. The black with the flowers in the back, the low cut. She's obviously could pull it off, but she was provocative, and yet she was also very complimentary. You know, asking about, does he like horror films? Well, most of the time women like horror films because you want to jump on the guy's lap during the horror film, and it's kind of a way to connect. And interesting enough, it's another way to connect where you have dramatic dates where your heart is racing, and that mirrors and mimics falling in love. So I can see that. But she's asking favorite movies, and she said some provocative things like, you stare right into my soul. Wow. That's different. And then talking about favorite movies, Remember the Titans, of course, that pops up. I'm like, okay, that's funny. They're talking about Wedding Singer. But she is a little bit sassy, like, I'm not going to kiss you. Well, sure, I'm going to kiss you. And I think she's going to keep Joey on his toes. And I could see he was responding well to Maria. I think he really likes Maria. Okay, let's go over the 7 women that he actually kissed. Bachelor data keeps better track of this than I do, but there were 7. I counted Jess. I counted Jen, go-kart racer, Daisy, Allison, the sister. We're going to get to that. Lexi, who I think is also going to go pretty far. Maria, I just talked about, and Leah. I actually like Leah. We'll get to that. So let's talk about Leah and what happened, just to catch you up. So on the live after the final rose, she was in the audience from Hawaii, and the crowd got to vote her on, essentially. So Leah gets this special card that she's not been able to open, and everybody, even in my stories, was guessing what it was. Some are saying it's blank, some are saying it's a special immunity, and they kind of went with that. But I liked the show mixing it up. I really do. I like that they keep it fresh because it gets old. The same thing gets old time and time again. So they try to mix it up, great, but it's not Survivor. Is this going to be a hidden immunity? What is this going to be? And Jesse is not Jeff Probst. So we find out that this means you can steal a date. I actually at first thought Leah was a little bit reactionary. She obviously is upset because she realizes the weight of this, that if you steal a date from someone else, that puts a target on your back. But think about all the complicated implications, because if I get to steal a date, and you could do it up to hometowns, would be great if you could steal a hometown, right? But if I get to steal a date, then is Joey never going to ask me for a date, right? And then which one do I steal? And then I'm blocking somebody else from having that great connection with him. Say it is like the pretty woman date, okay, where they usually go shopping. You get a pair of Jimmy Choos, some amazing outfits. Who wouldn't want to steal that one? But what if he was really looking forward to taking Lexi on that date? And then that disrupts, and then you would always be wondering, like, was he going to pick me anyway? Or then you never get chosen because you know you could steal. I just think the pressure would be ongoing. So after I reflect on it more, I think what Leah did was actually brilliant. Throwing it in the fire was, I'm done with this. I'm going to choose my relationship with Joey. And how she spoke to Joey is what really impressed me, about him having a say in this. And that felt very relational. So I really liked the way Leah looked at Joey and spoke about it, and I thought that was great. Now, I hope after the fact she doesn't regret it, like, God, I could have gotten me some Jimmy's shoes. But let's leave it at that, and I really thought she did a great job. Are there any other standouts for me? What about Evelyn? Back to Evelyn was the one who came as the tennis referee. She was really anxious. And back to, poor thing, didn't get any time with Joey. Do you blame her for being anxious? Because they keep getting the message, nothing is more important than time with Joey. And if I haven't had time, it is really a risk. Now, it's no guarantee just because you got time that you're going to get a rose, but I could see how she would be anxious. I just kind of felt for her. So let's now talk about the rose ceremony. The first and the last rose are usually significant, but we call it the producer rose. Okay, if you haven't watched the show before, usually the producers do have some say, especially for the final rose. And here, I think they really had a say with the first and the final. That felt scripted, felt a little bit canned, and it gave Lauren and Allison a little bit of a sister kind of riff. All right, so now Lauren, mind you, so Allison gets the first rose and she turns to her and says, you know, blank you. And yeah, not super elegant, but they're sisters, and I've read that that's kind of how they talk to one another. I think, again, it would have been silly if, you know, Kathy came in and said, zip it, Lauren, don't talk to your sister that way. This is mean girl. I know they didn't mean it that way, but here's the thing. I don't think Joey likes the whole sister thing. We saw him with his own sisters. They said, we don't really want to see you making out with all these women. And I think that he knows how sticky it would be, and he wouldn't probably want anyone dating his sister. So I just don't think that's going to go well. Even though I think he probably had more of a connection with Allison, I don't think either of them is going to go far. So that's what we have of the sisters. So now we had 10 people go home. We had Chandler. She was the one who said, I'll be there for you, of course. Kayla, the grunting. Kira, the scream. Lanny, something about a puppy. Nat from Canada. Sam, Samantha. I barely saw these women. Sandra. Taylor, the one that saved the date. Again, I thought that was bad. And Zoe. The women leave. Nobody wants to be made into a crying meme. I felt bad. That's tough. But overall, I thought, good night. I see some definite front runners. As I said, Daisy, Jess, Rachel. I liked Lexi, Maria. Some beautiful, beautiful women. Kelsey. So I thought Joey, if I had to rate Joey, I'd say he did like a 9. I actually think I'd give him a really high score. He made a lot of eye contact in his conversations with people. He would say, let me repeat this back. Did I get this right? He seemed like he was trying really hard to pay attention and to make the women feel really appreciated. Now, also, we've had people self-eliminate on night 1 and nobody did. So all the 32 women who signed up showed up. and nobody self-eliminated. So that's why I give Joey good props, good kudos. I'm imagining that he is easy to work with. So we're going to get into more psychology as the stress unfolds, because according to attachment theory, if you've been following me, you know this, we're all like tea. You don't know who someone is until you put them in hot water. And let's face it, night one is not a lot of hot water. If you're going home, you're in hot water, you're stressed out. But if you're Joey and you have your choice of 32 beautiful women, you're not feeling stressed. So I wouldn't imagine that we would see him under stress or any chinks. But I imagine we are. And as they show, they started out with the popcorn, that it looks very dramatic ending. I also don't think that's it. Remember, they like to tease us. I imagine that Joey very well will get engaged and hopefully will be happy. And then the clock will start and we'll see what happens for him. But we're off to a good start. Let me know what you thought. Who was your favorite fashion pick? What dresses did you love, not love? What was your favorite limo entrance? What was your least favorite limo entrance? And please, as always, subscribe to my channel, like and comment, and help me just share all the Bachelor drama. More soon.